Hey, good afternoon. This is Mark Osmack, and welcome back for I believe, the fourth installment of Ask a Candidate Anything. So every single Thursday, we go live between 1 and 1:15 about Central Standard Time, and this is an opportunity to ask me anything. We do have some subjects we try to focus on each week. So this week, we're gonna talk about the process of becoming a candidate. So that was this past Tuesday, which was amazing. And then after that, we'll get into some real ID questions. And so that's the issue of Missouri having compliant and non-compliant identification. So that's whether it's a non-driver's license ID, CDL, commercial driver's license, or a driver's license in Missouri, and what you are and what you are not going to be able to do with those licenses coming up in the near future. So first, this past Tuesday, or just a few days ago, and Gretzky's on my lap, by the way, so we'll see if he pops up for a little bit, but he's basking in attention right now. So this week, early on Tuesday, my girlfriend and I went to Jefferson City to file my candidacy to be an official candidate on the ballot in August of this year. So the primary elections will be in August 7th, 2018. And so we got there very, very early. We got there actually on Monday night, and after that, I woke up about 5:15 or so in the morning, and got to the Secretary of State's office about 6:20 a.m., and then stood in line and waited to begin to register. And so the way it works is, in the past, it was a first come, first serve policy. And so if that were the case, I'm sure there have been many more people waiting in line. But they've changed recently. I don't know exactly when, but they've changed the process to be a random lottery, which I'll explain in a little bit. So got there about 6:20 in the morning, and the sun was just coming up behind the Jefferson City Capitol, and it was truly, truly beautiful. And so waited in the little foyer for a little bit. And after about an hour or so of just talking with some other candidates, they open the doors, and the first thing that you do is you have to register with the party. So if you're a Democrat, you register at that table. Also, the Libertarians, Green Party were there, in addition to, of course, Republicans. So when we got there, we were the only ones there from the 2nd Congressional District race, and that includes the Republican side. I knew that I listened to, much to my chagrin, I listened to 97.1 earlier in the week. And Representative Ann Wagner was on there saying she was going to be the first in line. She wasn't. However, the reason why, she had a critical vote on her bill that day, but I believe she filed shortly thereafter. So after you file with the party, then you start to kind of stand around and wait. And after that, you go upstairs to the 3rd floor of the Secretary of State's office building, and you wait. And so it's really cool, also really noisy. If you can imagine every single candidate, literally, who's filing that day in the state of Missouri, talking. So whether you are a U.S. Senator or a U.S. Congressman or woman, you actually have to be there unless there's something that precludes you from doing so. But everyone from county positions to city positions throughout the state, statewide offices, local elections, so state representatives were there, state senators were there, and then those who are running for congressional seats were there too. So it was really great to see a bunch of friends that I've made and met since we announced in July. So after that, you fill out more paperwork, and then you're assigned a number. I think my number was 9 in line. A few people cut in front. That's okay. I won't throw them under the bus here, but maybe later. Totally kidding. But then you go in this room, and there is a glass bowl. So I think it was a square glass bowl, and inside there are 999 sealed envelopes, about 4 or 5 inches in width. And so they're perforated edges on all sides, and you stick your hand in there, you pull it out, and fold both the sides, and then you open it up. And so inside the envelope is a number. So what that number means is, if you do not have a primary, it doesn't matter what you get. So if you are uncontested in a race, then you could pick number 1 or pick number 999. It's not going to impact your position on the ballot because you're the only one. Where it does come into play is if you do have a primary, then they correlate the number that you picked from that bowl with the people in your race. So whether you have 1, 2, or 10, or 100 people in your primary, they'll begin to order numerically where you're at. So we drew number 94, and what that means is we are now going to be at the top of the ballot, which is absolutely outstanding. So I've heard different numbers of how it helps as far as getting a bump, but with a 1% bump or a 3% bump, anything is great. So the name will be under Mark J. Osmack, and it's truly, truly exciting. So we knew, I think within that day, or at least by the next day on Wednesday, where we were at as far as the ballot goes in order. So that's what you're going to see for the ballot coming up in Missouri on August 7th, you'll see my name follow at top, and then followed by the other 4 respective candidates for the Democratic Party for that race. So after that, a lot of pictures, met a lot more people. Talked to Joe Manis from NPR, KWMU, which was great. Ran into Representative Cleaver, who of course is the congressman out of Kansas City, and saw a whole bunch of folks that I've met and we've met throughout this entire race that are running for state office on the Democratic side. So it was really great to see them. Afterwards, Caitlin and I, my girlfriend and I, went to the Capitol building itself and met with Bruce Franks, saw Peter Meredith, Doug Beck, Cora Faith Walker, and just said, hey, this is great, this is today. And so did that, saw Deb Lavender. Gina Mitten had to go. She was feeling pretty ill, but it was a fantastic day. And then afterwards, Caitlin and I went to Fulton, Missouri to see where Winston Churchill spoke. So that was that. That's how it all plays out. You file with the candidate, you file with the party, and then you file with the state, and we are officially on the ballot, which is truly, truly exciting. So everything, a lot of people kind of, some people are a little bit hesitant to see what was going to happen, were we actually going to be on the ballot, because a lot of things can happen between the time that you announce in the papers or to the media and then the actual filing date. But now, no matter what, we will be on the ballot on August 7th. So one thing I want to talk about is the Missouri Real ID Act. And so this is the compliance that is required of all 50 states, that their ID, whether it's a non-driver's license or a driver's license or a CDL, commercial driver's license, must be federally compliant. So the federal government, after September 11th, 2001, has stipulated certain qualities or certain bullet points that each state must meet to have on their identification. Missouri is one of, I believe, 5 states that has failed to do so. So the Real ID Act came into being in 2005. And for over almost 13 years now, Missouri has kicked the can down the road, which is extremely, extremely unfortunate. So it's not just putting off later what we should have done then. It actually, the longer we put this off, no kidding, every single day, it becomes more and more difficult to become compliant. And what I mean by that is, every single person who in the state of Missouri who does have a driver's license or an ID or a CDL has to have a new one. So the deadline now has been extended to October 10th, 2018, and then the no later than date will be March 4th, 2019. So almost a year from today. So it's a few days from today, a year from now. So what does this mean? Well, right now, your Missouri ID, whether you're non-driver's license or driver's license, is accepted to get on an airplane. So if you fly out of state, it is accepted to go into a military base anywhere in the nation, which you do not, by the way, you do not have to be in the military to get on a military installation, just to access certain services that they have. Among other things that you will no longer be able to do if whenever this ID is no longer compliant. The so what of this is that if you are a parent in the state of Missouri and you have a Missouri issued ID, if your son or daughter graduates from Fort Leonard Wood, which is in St. Roberts, Missouri, you will no longer be able to get on base to see your son or daughter graduate with your Missouri ID. So that's how bad it is. And so the reason why is because Fort Leonard Wood is a federal installation, obviously, but your Missouri driver's license as a Missourian will not be allowed, you will not be allowed on there to see your Missouri child graduate basic training or any other school they have. So that's pretty bad. Some of the solutions that this current administration has offered has been, well, we still take passports. Great. Well, the thing is, passports are far more expensive, at over $100 to get. Not to mention, you have to have a birth certificate available, mail that in, and then wait 3 to 4 months in order for that's a best case scenario to get the passport back. And during that time, you will not have your Missouri birth certificate or any other birth certificates. You mail it in. If you want to have it expedited, which you can, that is, of course, an increased cost. So it goes without saying that if there is any kind of issue in obtaining a Missouri ID due to financial issues, it is even more difficult to get a passport. So that's not a solution. Then the other forms of ID they'll take is a military ID or government issued ID. If you're a DOD, so for instance, a Department of Defense contractor, they will take that. But all those things do not address the real issue. So not to get too policy wonky on you, but the longer we wait, the harder it gets. Think of it, every single person in Missouri who has a Missouri issued ID, it needs to be replaced within less than 1 year. So we have less than 300, we have about 365 days to get this right. Now think about the first issue is communication. How is the state of Missouri going to communicate this requirement to every single person here? So if you're in the city or a large town, it may not be that big of an issue. theoretically, because you might have access to the internet, you might read your local paper, the Post-Dispatch or the Kansas City Star, or get updates on your phone. But if you're not there and if you don't have access to that, then how are we going to hear about it? So then that's an issue of mailers. So we have to mail out information. The state of Missouri's got to mail out information, which costs a ton of money. We're going to have to blast this out on radio stations everywhere throughout the entire state. That's going to cost money. Then we have to put updates or put out new information on websites, state newspapers, websites for radio stations, on and on and on. Facebook, Twitter, we have to, no kidding, blast out the requirements and the deadlines to every single Missourian now. If we don't, then we have less and less time to get the word out, not to mention word of mouth. So with word of mouth, of course, as you know, the games we played as a kid for telephone, the further along that line gets, the less accurate the information is. So the state of Missouri needs to do this absolutely now. And if you're wondering, why haven't you heard about this? Why haven't is this not a bigger deal? Great question. Because after October 10th and then March 4th of 2019, you're not going to be able to get on an airplane anymore, go to a federal installation. And this not only impacts people and parents and getting out of Missouri or traveling, it also impacts the military. So the no kidding possible impacts to defense is that if you have a CDL, commercial driver's license, from Missouri that is not recognized anymore, then if you're delivering goods to, say, Fort Leonard Wood or Whiteman Air Force Base, which are two of the largest ones here, you will not be granted access. So now if you're delivering goods or services, you're not going to be able to get on those bases, those installations. So what some people don't know is that a lot of, some of the services that used to be performed by soldiers or airmen are now being contracted out, such as people who keep the grounds. So if you are cutting lawns, if you are tending to different areas or different parts of the military bases, you may not be allowed to enter unless you have a separate DOD, Department of Defense ID, or if your driver's license or ID is from another state that is compliant and recognized with the Real ID Act. So we have the communication part. We touched on that a bit. How are we going to get the word out to every single Missourian? The other big issue is how are we going to actually issue those IDs? So is there a plan in place for mobile driver or IDs? Think of like a bookmobile type process. But do we have an ID mobile, so to speak, planned to go throughout the state? So it's one thing if we're in St. Louis and there's the Metrolink and some buses. If you don't have a car to be able to do that, it's a whole other issue if you're in a more rural area throughout Missouri, and you might struggle to have access to that location. Furthermore, there is not also a plan in place to extend or increase the hours of the DMV. So some DMVs in smaller areas, and smaller towns, may only be open a few days a week, whether it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. And so the hours, the hours have not been adjusted, either the days or the hours that they're going to be open, in order to adjust for this huge influx of people. And you know what human nature is. We're going to wait. A lot of people are going to wait to the last second, and I get it. But that would be okay if Missouri didn't wait to the last second and have continually request for an extension after extension after extension after extension. By some miracle, the federal government did grant Missouri that recent extension not too long ago. So bottom line, we have October 10th, 2018, and the Missouri driver's license will no longer be good to get on an airplane from Lambert or any other airport here in Missouri. And you will not be able to get into Fort Leonard Wood to see your kid graduate basic training, or Whiteman Air Force Base, or any other federal installation. So if there are any questions, please send a message at mark@markosmak.com. But I just wanted to let everyone know how thankful I am for the support that we've received so far. You can't see them right now, but there are 3 members of the staff here right now in front of me, and they are the reason, and you are the reason why this campaign is able to continue going. Now that we have registered, now that we're filed, now that we are on the top of the ballot, we're going to get into a new gear. It's going to get more and more exciting as we go forward. This is where we will need more and more volunteers, and so we have new folks who are coordinating that, and so to improve what we needed to improve upon, to be honest. So we have that in place, and it's truly going to get exciting from here on out. So thank you to everyone who supported us financially, or through their time, or through their words of encouragement, or also the wonderful messages that I get of, hey Mark, you misspelled this, or the lighting was bad on that video. I do appreciate it. So thank you for pointing out the things that I've missed and having oversight on. So until next week, if anybody has any ideas of subjects they'd like me to broach or discuss, I will not shy or shirk away from anything. So even the ones that are unpleasant or could be uncomfortable to discuss, I will. Whether it's race, militarization of police, I'm more than happy to talk about gun violence again, or anything else. But the whole point of this is to know that candidates and elected officials should be accessible, and that's why my phone number is on the internet. That's why my email addresses are readily available. People should be able to get a hold of me, and so what I owe you is an improved time frame to get back to you. And so we do get a lot of requests, a lot of information, and so we're doing the best we can. But we're going to keep getting better as this race continues. So defeating Ann Wagner in November is going to be difficult, but I know it can be done. So we have our work cut out for us, but to be blunt, I have spent my fear twice in Afghanistan, and so we are fearless. And so we are moving forward, we are courageous, we are bold, and that's why I'm unafraid to speak about any issue. So with that, I wish everyone a wonderful afternoon. My email address is mark@markosmak.com, and my phone number for the political side is 314-482-2911, and I would Wade Gretzky, but he's looking really cute, but I'll just show you right here, just to prove I have a cat. So there he is. I know I talk about him a lot, but he actually does exist. So I hope everyone has a great afternoon, and I will see you all next week. Thanks a lot.